If I've said it once, I will say it a million times. If you are a podcaster, you need to be speaking on other stages, being a podcast guest, whatever that looks like. You need to be getting your message out there and then bringing people back to your show. Today's guest, Antoniette, is a speaker booker, meaning that she books people to speak on stages, to speak on podcasts, to speak in front of organizations, and all of that. And the tips that she gives today are going to help you become a better speaker, but also be able to share your message in a way that is giving, that is with the audience in mind, and will eventually lead to more sales for you, whatever that looks like. So please join me in welcoming Antoniette to the podcast. Hello, Antoniette. I am so excited to have you on the show today. Everyone, please pardon. I have a little bit of a cold. I'm going to get through this, though. We're going to be great. I'm very excited to have you on the show today and to talk about being a speaker. This is obviously a strategy that I am constantly telling people to do. Go get on other podcasts. If you want to grow your show quickly and efficiently and get in front of your new listeners, that is the number one way to do it. But that is not something that I offer. So I always love bringing in people who do this for a living and have those strategies to be able to help our audience. So if you could start by telling everyone who you are, what you do, and a bit about your business.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And I want to just, before I tell anything about myself, I want to echo that, yes, every podcaster should also be a speaker, because I, as a speaker agent, say the opposite. Every speaker also needs to be either a pod guest or a podcaster. It is one of the most powerful platforms out there. Where else can you find your people who are hanging around like grapes, right?
Yeah.
People go to certain podcasts because they are seeking information on that body of topic. And it's like a golden gift just handed to you. And it's just so sad when I see people not seeing the value in podcasts. Oh, we don't get paid for speaking on podcasts. Is it worth my time? It absolutely is the greatest marketing investment that you would make, because you're going to where your people are. You're giving them real value and you're helping them discover you. And you're getting that third party validation from the host. They eat, live, sleep their audience. Everything that they do is all about in service of their audience. They're not going to bring on somebody who's not going to serve their audience.
Yeah.
And you're getting that privilege to be on their show. So love that you, as a podcast producer, are telling podcasters, hey, you need to be speaking, because that's so true. And on the other side, as an agent, I am letting all speakers know you need to be getting your voices out, your voice out there through the power of podcasts. There I am. I am a speaker agent. And before I was a speaker agent, I was a producer myself of very, very large scale events. So I have been putting speakers on stages for over 30 years. I'm very passionate about it. It comes from a personal backstory where we had to make a pretty significant life decision. And luckily for me, all options were laid out on the table, but I saw others kind of journeying through a similar path with me where they didn't get the other options. And so I just really grew at a very young age to be passionate about making sure that everybody hears all possible solutions to whatever life decision that they have to make. And that can only happen by your voice and my voice, right? Every audience member that's listening today, their voice matters. Doesn't matter if you have the stage charisma you think you need. It's not about you. It's about those who are laying awake at night, praying for the solution you already have for them.
Yes. Oh, I love that. There's so much that our voice can do, right? When we are showing up in our integrity and authenticity. I know those are like buzzwords, right? But when we show up that way, there is so much life that we can bring to people and taking them from where they are now to where they want to go, and showing them that it is possible. I've talked very openly about how I have used a podcast with my sister as a way to process grief, as a way to process childhood trauma, to kind of talk through these things, and getting people in our DMs saying, oh my goodness, me too. Just from us having those one-on-one conversations, there's so much that speaking can do. And I love podcasting because there's not a lot of red tape around what you can and cannot say. How does that differ with maybe if you're going to be a speaker at an event? What kind of things do you have to consider as you're kind of prepping that message to pitch yourself to be at speaking at these things?
Yes, excellent question, Alicia. So, if you are the podcaster, that's kind of the wonderful gift that you get is it's your stage, right? You can say anything that you want, you can express anything that you want as long as you are communicating and connecting with your intended audience, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, inappropriateness will get you shut down somewhere along the lines. But what I'm talking about is it's your playing field. You get to create that space the way that you want it. There's really nothing else out there like that. You can even create your own events, and it really doesn't have that same amount of freedom and power that
Mm,
podcasting does. As a guest on somebody's podcast, obviously you need to be relevant to their show, to what they've designed, and for their audience. At the same time, there is a bit more freedom to express yourself in ways that you might not be able to do on other mediums like radio or in a corporate setting, let's say a conference for a group of executives, whatever it might be. There are just tighter reins in some of those other platforms. When you are speaking on somebody's stage, whether it is remotely, which that opportunity has exponentially increased the likelihood that a serious speaker is going to be prosperous and successful, even then you're entering into somebody else's space. So, no power like your own podcast. At the same time, there is way more power to express yourself and really bring relevance, whether it's your audience or somebody else's audience, as long as you're staying with these three things top of mind. Number one, connection. Number two, community. And number three, service. As long as it's about them and the host and not you, then you will hit it out of the ballpark. Stay authentic because people can see right through. She's a template, right? She's just
mhm.
templated. She's just following some template somebody told her to do, right? They, yeah, stay within a framework so you can be timely, so you can make sure to get all your points across. But at the end of the day, it's more about how you make people feel and that win that you give them in that short span of time that they have with you than any sort of formula you're trying to follow. As long as you connect with them, as long as you create community because you're in either that big conference room with other people seeking kind of a similar thing that as you are, or you're on a podcast. There's a community that's been built by that host. So you've got to connect with that community and be part of that community in order to be effective. And one way, one trick you can do to do that, whether it's on location or on a podcast or on a remote speaking engagement, is ask the host if you can poll a couple of people ahead of the event. So in the case of a podcast, it's so easy. You can go through, definitely never show up to a podcast and do an interview when you haven't listened to that podcast yourself. That's very rookie and it's uncool. And the host can see right through it. The audience can see right through it. How can you connect with a community if you know nothing about them? So
Right.
go in and look at the different subject matters that she's tackled. And that's always going to have a rhythm to it. There's going to be a theme for this time and space in her or his show. Get to know the voice and their languaging by listening to some of the podcasts. Similarly, when you're at an on location speaking event, ask if you can poll a few of the known attendees. Just call them up, ask them some questions. Almost always that is very, very welcomed. I have the huge privilege of working with Zig Ziglar's right-hand speaker. He's one of my clients. His name is Brian Flanagan, and he will go as far as memorizing 40 names of attendees, learning a little bit about them and calling them out. Now, he is a master at his craft. Obviously, he traveled the world with Zig Ziglar for 30, 40 years, I think 30 years, close to 30 years. And so he's very next level. But even if you memorize one name, one circumstance that somebody's going
Mm,
through, and definitely get the language because we all have our insider language, right? Speak their language. Another way to do that is mingle before and mingle after. Don't just show up, give your talk, and exit the stage. You're not doing yourself a service. You're certainly not doing the audience a service, and you're not doing the host a service. So that little bit of extra effort to really understand the culture, languaging, and the community is going to take you far in the area of connection.
Wow, those are so good. And I like, as you're talking, I'm thinking, like, as an introvert, this all seems a bit terrifying. And so for me, maybe a more virtual event might make more sense where I can have those more one on one, maybe talking in someone's DMs ahead of time or connecting with people that way, maybe connecting with them in the chat. Do you work with some introverts? Are there some tips or tricks that you tend to have for those types of people who maybe are terrified of the idea of getting on an actual stage, but still want to be able to say, I'm a speaker and I speak about this topic?
Yeah. Okay. Alicia, we're sisters in that. I am a huge introvert, and I know you don't see it, but I've designed my life basically around the fact that I am an introvert. So I put other people on stages. I get on stages just because I get a lot of requests for that. And every now and then I will do it, and I do well. But the big difference between an introvert and an extrovert is I am fueled without people. I am fueled in my own space, my own nook, right? That's where I get refueled. An extrovert, like my husband, he gets energized and fueled in the midst of people and chaos and conversation, right? That I love it. I love connecting. I love meeting people, but it drains the heck out of me.
Yes.
And so for me to go refuel, it needs to be in just my quiet respite, right? My little place of refuge. So there's a difference. I think a lot of people, they mislabel introvert. There are people who are genuinely shy, and there is an actual word for that. I'm actually going to shout out somebody to you and to your audience because she is incredible in this area. Her name is Avery Sunshine. Now, we just actually did an interview together not long ago, but she was so shy that she literally, you could ask her name and she would forget it. She would not,
Mm.
this is just one to one, like not even on a big stage. And she now has built a whole community around really helping people find their voice, whether they are super shy, super introverted or not. Incredible resource, Avery Sunshine. Outside of that, though, it's really understanding and accepting yourself. Number one, know that if I'm going to do this talk, I'm going to need to get centered before the talk. And actually, Avery shows a whole system of doing that where you really check in with yourself, get centered, but you end with a prayer or a wish for the people you are about to speak to. So then, energetically, chemically in your mind, it's shifting from this is about me to really this is about them. I bet, Alicia, if you saw a little old lady trying to cross a street, having a difficult time, your introvert shyness would just be thrown out the window. You would go to her rescue and help her. Complete stranger, right?
Yeah.
You would take her the rest of the way to rescue her. So if you look at your audience like that, they are people in need or they would not be there. They need your assistance. They need what you have. Then it takes that burden off of, oh, maybe my hair's not all in place. Maybe they won't like me. Maybe they won't get my jokes, whatever. It's not about you. It's about them. And I'm speaking to myself as well, because I still have those moments. It's like, okay, how can I get out of this? I know I said yes, but I really don't want to do this. I have all these amazing speakers who thrive in the limelight. Why don't I just put one of them in my place? But really, nobody's going to communicate your message the way you do. Nobody has had your experiences, your point of views, your approach to the solution. Nobody has that but you. So you are the only one with your voice. And there are going to be people in every single audience. You and I, Alicia, can share the same stage, speaking to the people with the same desire for a solution. You bring in your solution and your flavor for that. I might bring in an identical solution, but my flavor and my approach to it, we're both going to reach completely different people in that audience who will forever be your raving fan because you spoke to them, you connected with them. People remember how you made them feel. You can ask them 2 minutes after you get off the stage, what did I say? They're not going to remember one thing most of the time that you actually said. They're going to remember the transformation that you made within them and how you made them feel. So if it's just kind of a mindset shift, it's about them. It's not about me. If 50 people in there just don't like me, but 5 I connect with and they get it and they get to the next level of their life. That's who I'm talking to. And that's what makes all of this worth it.
I love that. I had someone on last week where he was talking, Atiba de Souza. He was talking about getting on video, right? And I was asking him like, what stops people from getting on video and like really showing their face? He's like, it's ego. It's us thinking that, oh, I have to be perfect or I have to be this way. You got to get over yourself. And I feel like you're saying something very similarly, right? With a different flavor, which is beautiful. I love that.
Right.
And like, how can we put these people to the forefront? And I think that so much of, I mean, I'm sure you see pitches that are absolutely terrible and you see all of these different things. I know I get terrible pitches constantly. I feel like so much of what is out there is people saying, this is what I have to offer. This is how I can show up for you. This is how I can bring my audience. When really it's like, I think when we're pitching ourselves and when we're approaching these collaborative conversations, right? Because these can be lifelong collaborations and connections that we're making when we're speakers or when we're podcast guests. And so much of what is pushed is this, what is the guest getting out of it? Or what is the speaker getting out of it? When really, I think that we need to shift it. And like you're saying, how can I show up for these people? What can I give? Not about, oh, I'm this awesome person. It's like, no, what do these people need that I can present that can change their life? Right. And I think that if we shift
Yes.
that in our pitches, if we shift that in the way that we connect with people, that it really would make a difference in getting better results for our pitches. What do you think?
I think you're spot on, definitely. And I'm going to shout out one more name because she's brilliant at this, but it really made a huge difference in not only my own pitches, but those that I do for my clients. So nobody wants a resume, right? We don't need the resume. We need when all speaker bookers and all show hosts, their number one question is, what needle are you going to move for my audience?
Yeah.
Right? Am I going to look like a hero or a zero for bringing you on? Your show depends on you bringing on compelling people, right? That are going to
Yeah.
bring content that is relevant to your audience. A producer's job relies on whether or not they're bringing the right person on the stage, or they can literally lose their job picking the ones that just are not going to resonate with the audience. And so when it comes to pitching any host, their number one question is, are they a sure bet? Are they going to knock it out of the park on that stage? So that's what you speak to. You speak to the ultimate promise, the ultimate outcome. I see that your audience is A, B, and C, and that generally right now in today's society, I don't know, bring it current, there is a big ABC issue going on in this space, right? And these are some of the solutions I believe would be beneficial to your audience. And just super quick, because we're all busy, light scannable. Point 1, point 2, point 3. And under each point, you could maybe put 2 to 3 subpoints, but it has to be answering one question, and that is, are you a sure bet? Are you going to bring some transformation and some micro wins to that audience for whatever small length of time you have? Once they can see that, then you're in. So Gloria Chow is somebody that I work with. She is a media queen, right? She's PR and media queen. And as part of her consulting, she'll audit our pitches. And over, we get to see. She'll also bring in top media people to audit these horrible pitches that they get. Yes, I've gotten them, you've gotten them. And
Yeah.
they're just like all about them, right? Hey, I am this, I am everything. I am the cake and the frosting too. And this is why you want me. I am going to be your gift to your stage, right? Yeah. Like,
I'm
who
laughing
wants
because
that?
yes, they're so bad.
How do you connect with that way? Like if you were to walk into a room with somebody together, you started talking like that, people would be backing up and walking away. It's about connecting, asking the questions, meeting people where they're at. And so in a great pitch, and if you really feel like you don't have this, you want to go deeper. I am not hired by any of these people, but these are people that I know in the industry that are masters at what they do. Gloria Chow really can help you get that pitch down. In a way, if you're this is just for media, not for podcasts, but
Hmm.
if you're, just wanting to get your name out there on the news. But one of the things she brings to the table, and I'm sure, Alicia, correct me if there's anything in here that you would add or subtract, anything along those lines, is it needs to be short. Who was it? Was it Ben Franklin or Mark Twain? I can't remember who it was, but they said, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, right? It takes more strength, more understanding of your own subject matter to keep it short and concise and powerful.
Yeah.
But that's really where you're going, the needle is going to get moved. So more is not better. More is actually worse. You should be able to communicate all of that. Now with AI, there's really no excuse because you've got that power behind you to help you. But you communicate the ultimate promise of your presence, the outcome of your presence in as short, scannable, concise way that you can. That does not leave hardly any room for you to be talking about yourself. You can certainly weave in, why you're an authority at that, but weave it in a way that is not self-indulgent, but that's really
Right.
just supporting the outcome that you're going to bring their people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm even thinking like as you're talking, for example, guys, so like thinking about pitches that I would send to speak, usually my topics tend to be turning your listeners into leads, creating a workflow for your podcast to not feel overwhelmed, things like that, right? The behind the scenes podcasting stuff. But one thing, like everybody's talked about that. All of the podcast producers are talking about very similar topics. So, what is something that I can send that is timely and relevant? Okay, I'm able to take 10-minute podcast episodes and use that for all of my SEO content. And I am able to, in 1 hour, take a 10-minute episode and turn it into over 10 pieces of long and short form content that I can use across all of my platforms over the course of 2 weeks, right? So, like, that is something that is people who maybe aren't ready to purchase from me, but maybe could be potential followers, collaborators, connections. Maybe they know someone who wants to outsource their podcast, but people who are maybe at that point where they're just like, look, I express this with one of my clients where she's like, my clients, they need help and I feel like I'm talking over them. And I'm like, well, your clients, the water's here. You guys can't see me. The water's at their eyeballs. And they're kind of just like, I'm drowning. I can't, I just need something to step on to get my mouth above the water. So what is that thing that you can do, that quick action that that person's struggling with to transform their life? Right. And it's not self serving for me because it doesn't mean that they're going to turn around and say, oh, Alicia, I want to hire you to manage all of my podcasts. But it could lead to further connections, clients,
Mm.
collaborations, maybe strategy calls. And they can say, oh, wow, Alicia came with so much information, so much strategy. I was able to implement that and it changed my life and it saved me hours. Right. So, like, what is
Yes.
something that you can do to be able to pitch where it's a no brainer and it doesn't sound like what everybody else is doing?
Okay, yes, you said a whole lot there that was so brilliant. And that also answers the question to those who are like, podcasting just isn't worth my time. I've done it, it really kind of goes nowhere. Well, in my world, every speaking engagement is a profitable speaking engagement done well, right? There are
Mm,
no free or unpaid speaking engagements, whether you are speaking on location, remotely, or on a podcast. There's always payment of some kind if you do it right. So it goes back to what exactly is payment? Payment is
mm,
anything that moves the needle for you, right? It moves yes, the dollars in your pocket. It moves your authority in your space. It moves your ability to have pieces of information, content that connect with your audience and nurtures your audience. There is so much value in just that one piece alone. What you're
yeah.
right, 1/2 hour or hour long podcast can become a month's worth of really valuable content. What is that worth? That could be worth thousands of dollars. And if it connects with one person, that can be worth tens of thousands of dollars in the lifetime of that new client that you have
Yeah.
attracted into your world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have to really broaden our idea, especially in the day of AI pitches, because I've seen some crazy ones too with that, where I heard one story where this woman, she had received a pitch and it was like, "Oh, I read your book," and she's like, "I didn't write a book. Like, who? Where did they come up with this information?" And then the person said, "Oh, I kind of put your information into AI, and this was the pitch like spit out." What? Like, no, do
No.
your research, understand the
Yes.
audience. That is what's going to set you apart, because I believe it's the number of podcasts. Now we're back dialing it back. That's not really stages and events. Podcasts specifically, the number of podcasts that are accepting guests versus the number of people who are actively trying to be a guest on podcasts, it's like 1 to 25. So one podcast for 25 people vying for that position, vying for that space.
Wow.
And then you think about all the people who are across multiple podcasts that they've been a guest on all these shows. So you have to really show up different. And I think that in 2024, we have to do better. We really, really do, because that's not going to let you stand out. And even with these like remote or kind of hybrid events where, they have in-person parts to it, or they might have virtual parts to it, where can we go? Right. So if we're thinking, okay, I want to be on more stages, I want to, whether that's virtual, hybrid, or in person, I want to do more of this. What are some of those first things that we can do to move ourselves forward toward speaking?
Okay, excellent question. So always start with the low hanging fruit. Just get your voice out there. And it's not so much that you're getting that gig, right? It has more to do with your collecting data.
Mm.
Every time you speak, you're understanding your audience a little bit more. You're understanding what people are responding to, and you're building your own flair, your own way of delivery. So start local, start on maybe some of the newer podcasts. Obviously, the more popular the podcast is, the more they're pitched, the harder it is to get on. But do not view yourself above humble beginnings. And it's not just because you aren't already brilliant and you don't already bring a lot to the table. It's because you are collecting data and you are really discovering your own voice in a new way. So I would begin definitely with podcasts, with local opportunities, even the Rotary Club, the different business clubs, even Toastmasters, which is an amazing organization. Just get your voice out there and do it. And in that, you will be discovered by others, but you're also going to be discovered by yourself, and you're going to discover your true audience in a whole new and powerful way. Then I would step up to pitching higher level podcasts and associations. That's kind of the next level where your voice can really get out there. If you really deliver at a high level, even if you never once mention a sale of anything, you will grow your business and your prosperity and your impact, because people seeking what you have will find you, right? Only if you're getting your voice out there. So once you've got associations and higher level podcasts under your belt, then you can begin pitching to events, corporations, all of the other pieces, right? Even nonprofits that are maybe some of the higher up nonprofits, universities, all of those kinds of stages. And really, your best place to find new engagements is at your current engagements. So
Mm-hmm.
once you've done a talk, if you're in front of your right fit audience, you've really resonated, you've really connected, there are going to be people in that audience that are going to be knocking on your door for their organization or for their club, whatever it might be. It is not an overnight sensation. It is not an overnight success. People look at Tony Robbins and they think, oh, lucky him. He's just got that personality and it was overnight success for him. No, it wasn't. It was 10 years before he had any vibe of hard hitting. He has no lack of energy, hard hitting the speaker scene. 10 years before he was getting any kind of significant speaking engagements, 12 years before a lot of people knew who Tony Robbins was. And now the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not an overnight success. He started by circling that mountain like all of us do. Hopefully now, in the day of modern technology, in the day of being able to meet even like this, and in the day of assistance from AI, that can be collapsed down. That's something that I do for my clients. I know it's something that you could do for your clients. I take 7 years and collapse it into 1 to 2 years to really get my speakers to their next level. I know you, Alicia, help new podcasters collapse what could take years to really become a known podcast in the top 5%, and you collapse that
Yeah.
way down into, I'm not speaking for you, but I know it's a significantly shorter route, right? Cut a check for
Yeah.
speed. Let's get there now versus later. I did want to speak to the AI piece because
Yeah.
I really resonate with that. Used wrong, AI is very damaging to your career. Used correctly, it is like hiring another assistant. But that's all it is. The assistant should never be your voice. Humans will always be necessary. So I recently heard it said, actually, it was somebody that I had interviewed on my show. Instead of artificial intelligence, think of it as automated intelligence. So just like a calculator calculates numbers really quick and gives you the answers, you're not going to get the right answer if you don't put the right question
Yeah.
in for what you're trying to calculate. All automated intelligence, AI, is it calculates words. So it's only going to be as good as the words that you feed it, and then it'll give you back what it thinks you were talking about. You still need to take a critical look at that and make it your own. It's just a helper. It is not the end product. Never, please never look at AI as the end product.
Yes. And I think that's been a recurring theme, right? Is Ativa said last week, the what's going to set people apart, the smart ones from the dumb ones, is what he said, is that the dumb ones are going to grab the AI and say, this is me. And the smart ones are going to ask the right questions to learn the right things, to be able to use it as a tool, to then be smarter, to be better, to grow faster. That is what's going to set us apart. And so I think that it's something that we definitely are going to see a shift in over the next few years, but we really do have to approach it correctly. So I love that you definitely mentioned that. Antoniette, this has been so fun and so insightful. And obviously we couldn't get to everything about speaking. So where can people go to connect with you, listen to your show, get to know more about how to potentially work with you, if that is something where they're like, yes, I need help?
Yes. Okay. Well, I obviously I welcome your audience. There are people out there at least thinking about, if they're not already, getting their voices out there. And to me, that's a mandate. That's not a nice have. It's a necessary in this life. So there are two ways. First, if you would just like to be a fly on the wall and hear the amazing content that comes into my podcast, you can find that at SpeakPact, PACT, like impact.com, speakpact.com. And then you can find your favorite platform. You can either listen to it right in that website, or you can find your favorite platform and link over to your favorite. So speakpact.com is all about our podcast, our show. And then speakerbooker.com will get you an appointment with me, an interview with me, if you wanted to learn more about what I offer and what I do. And there's a lot of free experiences that I'm creating on a regular basis. So one of the things you can do as well is look me up on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and that is the number one, Antoniette, if you'll put that in the show notes. And pretty much on all the socials, I'm the number one, Antoniette. You can find me anywhere. I do have a free gift that is a great starter for anybody really wanting to get their voice out there. So just DM me at LinkedIn gift, and I'll make sure that you get that.
Perfect. Yes. And we'll make sure we have links for all of that in the show notes. For anyone driving or doing other things, we'll have all those links. So that way you guys can grab those. They'll be on our website as well as on the podcast apps and YouTube as well. Antoniette, thank you so much. This has been so great. And I appreciate you sharing all of this goodness with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Alicia. And I want to ask your audience to do me a favor by doing you a service. And you are putting out some really important and innovative work. So definitely give her likes. But you know what is even more powerful in this age of AI is engagement in the comments. That is what AI is looking for. So the likes are awesome. Certainly subscribe and like, those are awesome. But what you can do even more for Alicia is give a little bit of your thoughts on some of the takeaways that you glean from her different shows in the comments. That will go really far for her.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.